Well, good afternoon, everybody, or good morning if you are on the West Coast. It's Wednesday, April 18th, and it's time for another MerlinOne Chat with our expert. Today, we're going to talk about things that you should know about Merlin, but might not. And these are basically commonly asked questions that my colleagues and I receive from you. And so we just thought it might be useful to go over some of these things. Let's just jump right into it. I'd like to start by introducing my colleague. You heard her briefly, Sarita Morrison. Sarita is our Customer Success Manager.
Good afternoon.
And she's going to talk to us in just a second. As usual, we're going to make this short and sweet. We're going to do our best to keep it to 30 minutes today. I've got a lot to cover. I am recording this session. It will be on our YouTube page. Please ask questions in the chat window. We'll respond to them as we get to them. And they don't have to be related to today's topic, as always. And, of course, we would love to have your suggestions for future topics as well. So, Sarita.
All right. Well, again, I'm Sarita Morrison, and I'm the Customer Success Manager here at MerlinOne. So I may have met with many of you, but I wanted to just make an announcement that we're rolling out a new referral program. We get great referrals all the time from our customers on the regular basis, and we want to start rewarding our customers for those valuable referrals. So if you know someone whose company could benefit from having a Merlin dam, we'd like you to access this form and fill out that information of your contact information, but also the person you're referring. And if that referral progresses into a customer for us, then you'll receive a bonus of either a $500 gift card for yourself, or you can choose to receive $500 off of your company's Merlin bill. So after the webinar, we'll send this link out to you guys, and we'll go from there. So once it concludes, you always get an email of the recording. There'll also be a link there for you to access as well.
So I know you're furiously scribbling down this link, but you don't need to worry about it. We will email it to you. Okay, thanks, Sarita. So these are the things that the topics that we're going to run through today, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the slides because I actually want to show you these things. But I want to remind users where you can find the Merlin manual and some other important resources. We want to mention that it's important to clear your browser's cache, especially when we've done a software update, because usually after we've done a software update and someone finds that things aren't behaving properly, clearing your browser's cache will help a lot. And I'll actually show you how you can do that with at least the 3 browsers that are available on my Macintosh, and it will be similar for users on Windows computers as well. We're going to talk about showing and hiding palettes. We've had customers say, I accidentally hit this, I can't find it, how do I make it come back? And we've actually had calls into our customer service department about that. We get questions about uploading content. We'll talk about that briefly. We'll talk a little bit about searching, again, kind of as a review, and remind you that you can find things in the manual about to help with your searching. We're going to talk a little bit about working with collections and why they're useful. We're going to talk about how to get content out of Merlin and how to share content with both internal and external users. We're going to talk about different approval workflows. We're also going to talk about how to edit templates and how to copy metadata. So how to use edit multiple templates and how to copy metadata, because that's a question we get a lot. So we'll talk about that briefly. I have 3 admin topics I want to show you. I want to remind people on how you can create and use pick lists, remind you about the trash can functionality, and also what happens if a user gets locked out because they fat-fingered their password one too many times. So those are the things I want to cover. Also, just as an aside, did you know that you can access Merlin from inside of Drupal, WordPress, Photoshop, and InDesign? Right now, we have software that does that. And we also have APIs that can extend Merlin even more with other application integrations. So I just wanted to mention that as just an aside to you. So without further ado, let's get out of the slideshow. And we're going to close that, and we're going to quit Keynote, and we're looking at my demo Merlin system. And so right off the bat, you're probably noticing, well, my Merlin doesn't look quite like that. It looks a little bit different. okay? And so I'm going to show you how you can make your Merlin look like you might expect it to do. But the first thing I want to remind you is how to find the manual. So in the very, very, very upper left-hand corner of everyone's Merlin that's using Merlin X, you can click, and you may have different options in here, but one of the options that you probably have, unless we have intentionally disabled it for you, but you do have the ability to download the manual. And just clicking that link should have caused, there we go, how about that? Just like that, it didn't show up. Let's go find the older manual. It probably hasn't been posted yet. So we're going to get the older version of the manual in this case. And it's loading up a PDF document, okay, that's over 100 pages of everything you might want to know about Merlin. But one of the things I wanted to point out about this PDF document is once it loads up, on the cover page of this PDF are 2 links. So in addition to the full-blown manual at over 100 pages, okay, as a PDF document, there are links on the front page of that manual that take you to 2 other documents that might be useful to you. So let's just give it half a more second and we'll be done. There we go. So I'm going to scroll down and you can see I have a link to a Merlin Quick Start, okay? So this is a 7-page manual. This is like the bare essentials. It's the least amount of information that a user would need to know how to use Merlin. And so I'm going to go ahead and open it in preview. And so you take a look at them. That's not what I want to do. We'll click on that briefly and go to the link to the Merlin Quick Start. And you'll see it's a brief 8 or 9 page manual of the very few things that you'd like to know about Merlin. So the Quick Start is available to you directly from the Merlin manual. And the other thing that's available from the Merlin manual front page is a little web tutorial that includes a little video. So for people that are a little more passive and just want to watch and learn about Merlin, they can go to that video and learn more about Merlin. And again, to get to that, that's all from the options menu and say, I'd like to download the manual, and it will open the manual in a new browser tab for you. So I think that's important. All right, let's talk about clearing your browser's cache, okay? And since I'm in Safari on the Macintosh, we'll start here. Now, in order to do this on a Macintosh, it's a bit of a 2-step process. One, you have to have the develop menu item showing. And to get the develop menu item to show in Safari, you need to go into Safari's preferences, and under advanced, just check this box at the bottom, show develop menu in the menu bar. And if you do that, you'll get the develop menu, and then all you have to do is come down here to say empty cache, or you can use the shortcut key, and that will empty your cache for your browser. Okay, so that's how you can do it in Safari. Let's take a look at Firefox. To do it in Firefox, it's real easy, but it's in a different place. I love consistency. You go to history, and then you would say you'd like to clear your recent history, and from here you get options, and the biggest thing you want to do is clear your cache. You don't have to clear these other things. The important one in this case is to clear the cache, and again, you could probably want to do everything when you do that, and clear the cache and say clear now, and that will clear it in Firefox. Okay, let's go to Chrome. Okay, that's the other browser that I use sometimes. And in Chrome, you go to the Chrome menu and say you'd like to clear your browsing data. Okay, and when you do that, it brings you to the settings screen and allows you to choose what you'd like to clear. And what you'd really like to clear is this last one, the cached images and files. Again, we really don't care about the history or the cookies and the other site data, but the cached images and files are what you want to do. You check that and click Clear Data. So that's how you clear the cache for the 3 browsers that I use on the Macintosh. It's very similar on Windows computer, and of course, Microsoft Edge has a slightly different process for clearing the cache, but you get the idea. It's important to do this particularly when we've updated your Merlin software. Okay, so I'm going to close out of Chrome, and I'm going to close out of Firefox, and we're going to go back to my Safari browser. one of the things that's important is Merlin terminology, so that when you're communicating with us, whether you're making a ticket on our ticketing system, which we talked about last month, or whether you're calling in with something that you'd like to talk about, it's useful to describe things using the same terminology that we use and that's used in the manual. And so one of the things that I'd like to do now is bring back my sidebars. So those are those areas on the side of Merlin that you have palettes, and those are things within the sidebars, and we'll point those out. So I'm going to bring back my left-hand sidebar by clicking the button in the lower left-hand corner that says expand the sidebar. And look, my left-hand sidebar comes back. And same thing on the right-hand side. I'm going to bring back my right-hand sidebar with a mouse click, and I'm going to expand the sidebar, and there's my right-hand sidebar, okay? And remember, you can move things around, so something that might be showing in one sidebar might not be in another, so you can just drag these things around. These are called palettes, okay? And palettes can be minimized by closing the disclosure triangle to the left of the title bar of each of the palettes, right? So you can minimize your palettes. You can also hide your palette by clicking the minus sign that appears on the right-hand side of the palette when you roll over it. And so if you ever end up in a position like this and you're wondering where all your palettes went or why they're minimized, you can use the disclosure triangle to unminimize the palette, and you can bring palettes back by using the hidden palette button at the bottom of the application in the footer area. And so I'm going to click that, and you can see I can bring back all of my palettes at once, or I can bring them back one at a time by selecting them, and they go back to where they previously remembered they were living. So that's a little bit about Merlin terminology, sidebars, palettes, disclosure triangle, and also a little bit about how you can hide and show things. And so if you have a user that's hidden something, this will help you bring it back. And again, even inside of the fields, you can hide fields. For example, if I'm not using the color field, I can hide it, and I can bring it back by clicking the little plus button. And you can see these are all of the fields that I've currently hidden. I'm going to bring back my color field, and then I'm going to drag it and drop it and put it where I want it to be. Okay, so you can see it's just as easy to do that. So that's a little bit about Merlin terminology. Let's talk about uploading content, okay? So I'm going to go to my upload screen. Remember, the upload tool inside of the Merlin application is only one way to upload content to Merlin. There are other ways to do that as well, but this is what we're going to talk about. An admin user controls the fields that are here. You simply fill them out, drag and drop content to the right-hand side, or navigate to content by clicking the plus button on the right-hand side, and you can say, yes, I'd like to upload this zip file into Merlin, and you can add metadata. Fields in red are mandatory, and again, keep in mind that a user might have hidden fields, and you can bring them back by clicking the plus button. So if you wanted to bring those two fields back, you can do that by selecting them. And then they will come back and show up at the bottom of the list, and then you can drag them and position them where you want them to be. Once you're ready to upload, you click the Start Upload button. And of course, if you have not completed the mandatory fields on the left-hand side, you're going to get an error message in the upper right-hand corner, or a growl. That's the terminology we're using for that message that flashes. And again, keep in mind, to bring a growl back, maybe you didn't have time to read it, you can go down here and say, I'd like to see notifications, and it will bring back all of the growls that have appeared during your current session of Merlin. Okay, so let's keep on going because I've got a lot of ground to cover. I want to talk about searching, and most of you are probably familiar with doing very basic searching just by typing something in here, like my last name, and searching, okay, and clicking the return key. Okay, and so this is everything that has my name somewhere in the metadata, but it's not specific of where it appears in the metadata. Now, if I wanted to do more powerful searching, I can expand my search window by using the disclosure triangle, and a plus button appears. Now, for some of you, this may be the default, or the default may be this. And so you can save a default search window by going to your search tools and clicking here and saying, I'd like to save this as my default. And that means every time you launch the application, it will launch just like this, not with the word Breslau in it, but with a search window and a window ready for you to pick a specific field, okay? If you want to do field-specific searching, you can do it here. So if I wanted to search things with only my byline in it, I can do it this way and click search. And instead of 889 items, I have 885. So 4 items, my name appears someplace other than the byline field, okay? Let's talk about a couple of other things just to remind you. Maybe you don't know how to spell my name. So you can type in B-R-E something and type in a wildcard character, the asterisk, okay? That's a wildcard character, and it's going to find for everything, it's going to search for everything that starts out as B-R-E something. And so it's definitely going to get me, but notice I've got over 4,000 items now, so clearly it's got more than me in it. So we could do something like this, type in not, B-R-E-S-L-A-U-E-R. To me, not is one of the most important things you can use when you're searching because it will include what you want and exclude what you don't want. I'm going to click on search and look, I found 3,281 items. Why did this one appear? Well, somewhere in the metadata, where's my description? So that's something I've got hidden. So just as a reminder, you can hide and show those as well. So my caption at the bottom, okay? And so if I click here, or I click here, so somewhere in the metadata, it's got BRE something. Somewhere in this case, it's probably some hidden metadata, or in this case, it's looking at the word break. Okay, so that's a little bit about searching and wildcard. Searches that you use a lot, you can save them into saved searches. And remember, you can save a saved search as shared if you have permission, and you can always save a saved search as private. So you click on either shared or private, and again, go to the tools here, or actually click the plus button, and it will create I don't have permission to create saved searches. How about that? So, but I would click the plus button if I had permission, and it would allow me to create that saved search. So that's a little bit about that. All right, let's talk about outputting and downloading content, because now that you found what you want, so maybe I want this picture, this Shutterstock picture I've stored in Merlin of this chef, and I can look at it large, and if I'm ready to use this, I can click the download button, and I can fill out the form here and say, yes, I'd like a zip file or not. I can change the file name if I want to do that. I can output the image in a new format, so if I want it as a different file, I can do that. I can resample the file, small, medium, or large, so maybe I only want a small one. And new functionality here, I can add output history. So this is functionality that we're currently working on. It will be released in the version 5.6 of Merlin, which is due out later this summer, okay? So I can add output history, okay? It might show up like this if you don't have anything set to mandatory, but because I had a field set to required, and these are the values that are in the field, and it had a default of sales actually, so that's why I put it in there. It's forcing this open so that you know to look at this and fill out other information, okay? So that's a little bit about outputting. I want to remind you there are lots of ways to share content with users in Merlin as well, for both internal users and external users. So if I wanted to share this with an internal user, one way to do it might be to go to the Merlin ID field in the metadata, and I can just copy that link and I can give it to somebody else in an email. And when they open their email, they click on it. It will force them to log into Merlin, and it will take them straight away to this item, okay? If you're using SAML, you might not even have to log in because you're probably already logged in through some other application, for those of you that are using SAML single sign-on. Okay, so this is one way to share with an internal user. Another way to share with an internal user is to send them a saved search or send them a collection if you wanted to do that by clicking on the collection and saying, I'd like to email a link to this collection, and you have a form to fill out. And again, this is for internal users. They will need access to Merlin to use that tool. For external users to Merlin, we have the share button, again, if you've configured it and if it's available to your users. And you can email a link to somebody just by filling out this form. And again, this is new. I can add an output history as part of this, letting you know why you've emailed this to somebody, okay? Or you can email a contact sheet to somebody. And again, all you need is their email address. You don't need anything else. Now, to share with an external user, it presumes two things. It presumes you're either hosted by Merlin or you're hosted in the cloud like Amazon Web Services, or you've opened up a port in your firewall if your Merlin is internal on your servers, okay? Now that's becoming more and more infrequent, but we still have a lot of customers that their Merlins are internal, that it's managed on the customer's network on their hardware, and in that case, it would require that a port be opened in the firewall so that people can take advantage of these kinds of links. So that's something that's important to you. Okay, I don't have a lot of time. One of the other things I'd like to talk about there are several types of approval workflows in Merlin, and sometimes people get them confused. And so what I want to talk about first is the traditional, we've been doing this type of workflow for over 20 years, approval workflow. We now call it the simple approval workflow, and it's based strictly on metadata and permissions, okay? So if I wanted to approve this content for some of my other users to see, I can check the box right here in the top of the metadata. Notice my approval is set to off. And so if I click on it, it is now set to on. In this case, I also triggered that to add a color code, okay? My green box that appears at the top of the view here, or the green box that appears here, okay? That's indicating that this item has been marked as approved. And you also see that in my rollover hover text. Now, that's all it is. It's a box that's been marked as approved, and it's a flag to other people that this content has been approved. Whether or not people see approved content is a filter that gets added to a user's group. So if I'm another user and I log in, am I allowed to see unapproved content? Maybe, maybe not. That's all about configuration. And so if you're interested in setting up an approval workflow that's based on that checkbox, contact any one of us at MerlinOne and we can help you set up that approval workflow, our simple approval workflow, okay? So that's a little bit about the simple approval workflow. The new, more complicated approval workflow is associated with the thumbs up button in my metadata palette, and also my thumbs up button in my collection. So I can request an approval on either an individual item or on a block of items that's in my collections. So if I wanted to get an approval for all of the items in this collection that Randy Simpson owns this collection, and it's labeled for Mike. If I want to get an approval on that, I can click the thumbs up button, and I can add an approval to that list, that collection, and you can say, you know, I need, can you approve these? For our website use, okay? Something like this, and you can even add a deadline, okay? Even a time for the deadline, 3 o'clock. And then you would pick from a list of people that have been assigned the role of reviewer, okay? So if I wanted to make me the person that needs to review this, I would click Save, okay? Notice this approval is marked as pending. An email gets sent to me in the background saying, hey, you've got a collection that needs to be approved. And when I log into Merlin, all I have to do is go up here to my dashboard, and it will show me everything that's waiting approval. So for example, I've got this, okay, and everything that I have asked to be approved. Now in this case, it's one and the same person, but you can see here that, you know, I can go in and set this to approve and say, yes, I'm going to approve this item, or I'm not going to approve this item. And again, emails get sent around, and I can add a comment to this approval as well, and that gets sent around as part of the email process, and also is viewable in the dashboard, okay? So as the user comes back into it, they will see. So if I close out of this, move this down. If I close out of this and go back to my approval dashboard, you can see that this item that was previously requested to be approved has been approved. And if I go look for things that are waiting for my approval, it no longer is here, okay? So it's not on this list because it's already been approved. So two different types of approvals. One is a simple approval process, and this is the compound or complex approval process, okay? And again, if you need help using either of these, let us know. Real quickly, before I go into the admin things I wanted to talk about, so it looks like we're definitely going to fill our time today, I wanted to remind people that the latest version of Merlin allows you to copy metadata from any item. So I could be on this particular photo, and down here in the bottom of my metadata palette, I have a button that allows me to copy the metadata, okay? And now, using my Edit Multiple tool, I can paste that metadata in to this metadata Edit Multiple tool. So all I have to do is click the button, and it fills out the other fields that are appropriate for this particular item. So if I had my auto tags showing, they would be here, but you can see it added marketing in this case. So I wanted to show you how I can copy metadata from one item and using the Edit Multiple tool, paste it into one or more additional items. And additionally, once you have things set up, you can save templates. And so you can see I've got a template saved here that puts my name in the byline field, and in the rights usage terms, it adds the terms credit David Breslauer, and in this case, it added to it. So you could fill this out and say, yes, I can mark this item as approved, and that I'm the caption writer, and maybe the location of this is Utah, because that's where I live, and maybe I want to add some additional information in the city, state, and country, because I'm covering the Sundance Film Festival here in Park City. So I can complete this, get this form set up the way I want it to be, and I'm going to say I want to do a replace, and I want to do a replace, and I want to do a replace on all of these. I get all of these set up the way I'd like them to be, and then I can come down here and save a template and call it my Sundance template, okay? And I'm going to save that. And so next time I need to invoke a template, I just click Load, and my Sundance template appears in the list, and look, it pre-populates and also sets the edit status to either replace, approved, or prepend to the way I had set it as part of my template. Okay, I'm going to pause because I've done a bad job of pausing, and let's see if I have any questions. So Jan is asking, can I switch off the manual for some users? Jan, you can't do that, but we can. So it's done by user group, and so all you have to do is let someone in customer service know, and we can disable that. So thanks. Great, you want the Merlin X Users Guide? No problem. I'll send you the very same link that I did here, and that will give you a copy of the user guide. In fact, what I'll do is I'll make sure that the latest user guide is posted as well so that people will have access to that. Okay, let's see. Are these Edit Multiple templates also available in the M5 desktop client? Oh, wow, Melissa, it's been so long since I've used M5. I believe they are. I believe there is a way in the M5 client to save some templates. If you'll hang on just a second, let's go take a real quick look. So excuse us for the diversion. No, we'll talk about that later. So now that I think about it. So Melissa, I'll check and I'll let you know. Okay, I had three things I wanted to talk about for admin users, and the most important thing I wanted to mention is the trash can function, okay? And so if you take something and put it in the trash, so I'm going to take this item and put it in the trash, and you have to have permission to do that, so not all of your users will have the trash can. Merlin's going to ask, hey, do you want to put it in the trash? And look, in this case, it's not going to let me do it because it's a versioned item, okay? Oh, it did do it, sorry. It's a version that was done being versioned, it wasn't checked out, sorry. If it had been a checked out item, but not checked back in, it wouldn't let you delete it, okay? So just to be clear on that, okay? So for example, if I check this item out, so let's check it out, okay? So it's checked out, it's not been versioned. If I try and delete this item, it's not gonna let me. See, can't do it, not gonna do it, can't delete it, no matter what I do here. Not gonna let me delete it because it's a versioned item. If I check it back in, then I will have permission. But again, keep in mind, if you don't have permission to send things to the trash, you won't see the trash can. Now, let's say you have some users that have put some things in the trash and they let you know, okay? You can go in and in the search area, one of the things you can search is the trash. And you say, yes, I'd like to search the trash. And when you go search the trash, everything that's in the trash will show up here. And when you're ready to bring it out of the trash, all you have to do is a mouse click and drag. And it's going to restore it back from the trash. So the next time you search the trash, that item is not, well, it should not be in there anymore. Okay. And then when you go back and run your search, it should be back where it lives. Okay. And it's clearly not there. So that's something I need to take a look at. But that's the basic functionality of working with the trash. The other thing I want to talk about from the admin point of view is locked out users. Now, your users may become locked out outside of Merlin, okay, because you might be going through SAML or through Active Directory. And so if your users are locked out from SAML or Active Directory, you're going to have to go back through the normal process that your users would use when they're locked out from that username and password. But if they're locked out of Merlin because Merlin has detected too many login tries within a defined period of time, an admin user can go to the administration area. They can go to the lockout feature in the admin area. And then, clearly not my day today, they should be able to go to this, there we go, finally. You will get a listing of all of the unique IP addresses that have logged in, and also, as I scroll farther down, a list of the unique users by username. So for example, if you take a look here that this person has logged in 3 times, well, they still haven't been locked out, okay? And if I logged in, oh look, this person has logged in 7 times, and look, they have been locked out, okay? And so what I can do is, all I have to do is click delete this entry, and they will be able to log in once again, okay? So it's that easy. So if you're scrolling down here and you see someone has been locked out or someone has complained to you that they've been locked out, you can find them on this list, okay? And go look for people where locked out is set to true, and you will be able to delete the entry, and then they will be able to log in once again. So that's a little bit about that. I've gone over my time. The last thing I wanted to talk about was working with pick lists. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, but basically working with pick lists is a 2-step process. You have to build your pick list in the pick list area of the admin area. You build a pick list, okay? And we'll cover this in more detail later. I know we've covered pick lists before. So the first step is build the pick list. The second step is in the field area, okay? The second step is in the field area is make sure that when you choose the field behavior, for example, this particular field, you need to say, yes, I'd like it to be a list, and what type of list do you want it to be? So those are the things I wanted to cover today. I know I've gone over a few minutes. I want to see if there are any more items. How long do the items live in the trash? Jim, that's a great question. The default is 7 days, but you can tell us to change that, and we can make that longer or shorter. And so for some of our customers, we have made it, as much as a month long. And if that's more useful to you, just let us know. That's a server-side setting that someone in our customer service area can change for you. So thanks. That was a great question. I meant to mention that. Is there a Merlin admin guide? That's also a good question. Stephen, all of the items that are listed here are in the main menu for Merlin X. So all of these admin items have their own section in the manual. And we do that because while you may not be an admin user, a Power user might want to learn more about some of those functions and then can talk to their admin about what they would like to do. Let's see, I think I've got all the questions that are here. Okay, wow, lots of people responded that you could hear me, so thank you for doing that early on. So I went 8 minutes over today. I apologize for that, but think of all the times that I kept it under 30. So thanks for joining me today. We look forward to hearing from you. Please let us know if you've got questions about what we've shown you today, or if you have topics for future chats. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.